Am I the jerk for not telling my friend roommate when their final paper is due? So my friend, whom I'll call Sam, and I are currently in our university finals week of this school year, and there is one class we share. In this class, Sam is convinced the professor dislikes her and is marking her down on her other classwork because of his bias. I don't know if this is true. Our final was a minimum 2,100-word essay, utilizing the papers and resources discussed throughout the semester, so it wasn't supposed to be a drawn-out research paper with tons of outside sources. We were told about this paper at the beginning of the semester, and were advised by the instructor to start it last week because no late submission would be accepted. I write down the due dates of all of my projects and essays one day early as a way to trick myself into not turning any in late. Sometimes it works. Sam knows this. This has caused Sam to not ask me when things are due because she says she works best under a time crunch, and I will usually give her a different day. While I was working on my essay 4 days ago, I asked Sam, who was watching a show, if she was going to work on hers. She told me she would start it later and that she would be fine, so I let it go. The following day I was working on my essay, and I would ask her about her essay, but eventually she got fed up with my nagging and told me to stop asking her about it. I completed my essay by the deadline I had given myself, which was June 9th at 11:59 p.m. and turned it in. During all of our other projects for the class, the deadline was 11:59 p.m. on the due date. However, apparently for the final, the due date was 11:00 a.m. on June 10th. Sam had planned on cramming her paper during the 10th, but since she is a late sleeper, she didn't wake up until well past 11:00 a.m., causing her to miss the turn-in time. When she woke up, she realized that she had missed the time and got super upset. The final essay is worth 25% of our total grade, and since it will be going in as a 0, she will likely either fail or barely pass the class because of her current grade. She asked me if I knew about the 11:00 a.m. deadline, and I told her that I had forgotten about it, but she didn't believe me. She told me that it was my fault that she was going to fail, and that I should have told her the turn-in time because the professor would have found any excuse to knock down her grade. In fairness, the turn-in time is explicitly stated in the Word document instructions the professor shared, but I had changed the due date and time on my copy as soon as I got it. On our university's class's website, you can find the time the submission page closes, so I could have found the official turn-in time and told her. So am I the jerk for not telling her the turn-in deadline for the paper? You did nothing wrong here. Your friend had all the same information as any other student and chose to put it off until the last minute. She needs to put as much effort into her studies as she's putting into finding scapegoats. You're not her babysitter, and she needs to grow up and take responsibility for her own time management skills. Am I the jerk for calling my parents evil? I, 33-year-old male, had a very big fight with my parents over the way they speak to and about my wife Rain, 32-year-old female. The end result of the fight is I asked them how they could be so evil and told them they should reflect on how heartless they are acting, but that would require them to have a heart. Of course, that is a very strong stance, and calling someone evil is extreme, but they have infuriated me, and I don't look at them the same anymore. But I want to know if I went too far. Rain and I met in college, and started out as friends who fell in love over time. We got married a year after Rain graduated, and we knew we wanted to start a family, so we agreed to try before we were 30. We were successful, and Rain got pregnant with our daughter Miley. However, we didn't have a happy outcome. When Rain was 8 months pregnant with Miley, her father and brother were involved in a car crash. Rain's brother lived for 8 days after, and her father for 9, and on the 10th day, our beautiful Miley was stillborn. I struggled to hold it together, but Rain's losses were just unbearable. That time of year is always difficult for Rain. 3 losses in 3 days, and she found it hard to come back from that. Those losses are still felt very strongly. Fast forward a few years and Rain is expecting our son. The somewhat difficult part is he is due around that same time. It's somewhat bittersweet because Miley should be excited about a baby brother. My father-in-law and brother-in-law should be excited about another baby joining the family, but they're not here. This is where my family comes in. My mom told Rain that she can now focus on happiness around that time of the year instead of sadness. I told my mom she was being insensitive, and my mom said Rain needs to decide this will only be a happy time, so our son isn't burdened by the losses. Rain told my mom she would still be happy about our son, but there will always be a sadness about our losses. My dad's response was to say Rain should keep that to herself and act like it was any other time of the year. My mom agreed with him and said all honors to the dead should be kept private. Rain said that's not how grief works and it's not how love works. I told them it wasn't their decision how we honor or remember those we lost, and I warned them to be very careful. My parents decided to go for the worst thing they could say and told Rain she will be a terrible mother to our son. They said he deserves better and that he deserves to be more important than loss and grief. I asked Rain to wait for me in the car, and it's when the fight with my parents took place. They argued that Rain was being selfish and acting like she was the only person who ever lost anyone. They wanted me to take mine and Rain's, son away from her, and I still see red when I think about it. Calling them evil hit a nerve, and I was told by my parents and some of my siblings that I took it too far. While I'm not sure there's any coming back from this. Am I the asshole? Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk here. Your parents took it too far. You just drew the line in the sand. They should have kept their mouths shut and offered support as needed. Ensuring that your son's birthdays aren't clouded by grief is something for you and Rain to discuss moving forward. Am I the jerk for not understanding my spouse on their stance on paternity leave? My husband, a 30-year-old man, and I, a 32-year-old woman, are expecting our first child this August. We decided to take maternity and paternity leave at the same time so he can help out with my recovery and take shifts feeding the baby once she arrives. I do not have a good relationship with my parents, so I am not reaching out to them, who live in the United States, to come and help out. My sister will be coming to help out for the first week. After she leaves, I thought my husband and I could manage on our own. My husband's parents live overseas in Korea, and my mother-in-law has offered to come to the United States to help out. However, I politely rejected the offer as my husband has a disabled brother who needs care 100% of the time in Korea. I do not want to burden her further. Today, my husband was talking with his parents about his plan to take paternity leave. They told him they do not understand why he is taking time off work. They believe I should recover in 1 week, at most 2 weeks, after giving birth, and that he would not need to take more time off than that. I am thinking this might be a cultural difference between America and Korea, as Korea might not offer such a long time for paternity leave for fathers, but I am not 100% sure. Even just Googling how long it takes to recover after childbirth, results show 6 to 8 weeks. However, my husband is only listening to his parents' advice. His point is that since they have experience in giving birth, they are giving solid advice. He is reconsidering taking paternity leave for only 2 weeks and going back to work sooner. He would still be paid for 3 months, and his job is secured after his return, so I do not know why he is so eager to go back to work. Am I the asshole for getting upset at my husband for wanting to go back after 2 weeks? I would even be okay with him taking 2 months and not the whole 3 months to be with me while I recover and help out with the baby. I am just annoyed that he is not taking into consideration my wants and needs, the person who is actually giving birth, and is suddenly changing his decision because his parents do not want him to take time off work. You are not the jerk. Turning down 3 months of paid paternity leave just doesn't make sense, especially since it's such a rare benefit in the US. Even if the mother is fully recovered from the birth, looking after a newborn is exhausting and requires a lot of help. He should really reconsider making the most of that time with their child, because work will still be there when he goes back. Am I the jerk for rescinding a travel offer to my stepchild and their family and inviting my child and their family instead? My parents were missionaries in Africa when I, a 64-year-old male, was growing up. They have long since passed, but I still keep in touch with friends who still live there and have made a few trips to visit. One of these family friends has operated a safari company for decades. Whenever I visit, I usually stay with them for a week or so. It has been almost 8 years since my last visit, and I want to go back. My ex-wife and I divorced about 15 years ago. Our son is now 35 years old, has a wife, and twin girls who are 13 years old. I remarried 6 years ago, and my current wife has a daughter, Pam, who is a 38-year-old female from a previous relationship. Pam also has her own family. When I told my wife about wanting to plan another trip to Africa, she was very excited. I contacted my family friend, and he offered me a great deal to stay at their safari camp, but only for a specific 2-week window. I told my wife about the deal my friend offered, and she asked if it would be possible to invite her daughter and her family on the trip. I was hesitant because Pam and I have never really seen eye to eye, but I figured this might be the type of trip that would bring us closer through a unique shared experience. When we first approached Pam about the idea, she was totally on board, but things went south pretty quickly. First, the window for the trip would not work for them because Pam's daughter has a softball tournament at that time that she can't miss. They did, however, offer to help cover the higher cost so that her daughter could still make the tournament. Next, however, came the deal breaker. Pam had asked how I knew my friends there, and I explained that my parents were missionaries long ago. A few days later, she came to visit with her daughters and told me that they are uncomfortable staying with colonizers and asked if we could change the trip completely. I straight up told them no, and told them they are no longer welcome to join us on this trip. It turned into an argument, and I had to ask them to leave. My wife was in tears by the end of it. Not wanting to miss out on the deal my friend was offering, I instead extended the invitation to my son and his family. He jumped at the opportunity without asking any questions. When I told him about the time window and where we were staying, he said he did not care and they would make it work. No hassle. I told my wife that my son and his family would be joining us on the trip instead, and she got mad at me. She told me that I should have at least tried to talk with Pam about it again to see if we could make it work before inviting my son. I told her that I am not going to bring Pam and her family after they insulted my parents and have been making everything more difficult from day one. I told her my son and his family are not making this nearly as difficult as Pam has been, and they also did not call my parents colonizers. My wife thinks I should give Pam another chance, but it is too late for that. Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk. You didn't uninvite her. She uninvited herself when she suggested a different trip that would likely be at your expense. Enjoy your time with your son, who is excited to be with you and grateful for the opportunity. You made a generous offer, and she threw it back in your face, so she doesn't deserve your kindness. Am I the jerk for exposing my mom's lifelong grudge against me because I was born on the wrong day? I'm a 21-year-old male and the middle child of 5 siblings. I always knew my mom treated me very differently from the rest of my siblings. It caused my parents' marriage to end because my dad made it very clear he wouldn't tolerate her being so different with me. This was after he tried to figure out why she was so different with me. A few close family members knew and said it was postpartum depression from when she had me that apparently only affected her ability to bond with me and not any of my 4 siblings. I have a sibling 1 year younger than me, and she bonded with her just fine. I was a teenager when I got into a fight with my mom one day, and she accused me of always hating her and never wanting her to be happy. I asked what she meant by that, and she told me that I had to come on the one day she had other plans. It was bad enough I was overdue when I was born, but I prevented her from reading a book that was released that day that she'd made plans to read months in advance. She told me I just had to be born that day, so she was too tired to read it on the release day, and she was weeks behind. She said I couldn't even be born normally like my siblings, and I was a C-section baby. She told me it ruined her plans so badly, and I never seemed to care. Then she mentioned how much I cried when she was around, and how well I did with my dad. She said I made her seem like such a monster, and none of my siblings were like that. She told me I clearly always wanted to come between her and my dad. She was pretty serious about it too. She said I started ruining her life the day I was born. It really shocked me when she told me all this. At first, I didn't want to believe it. My dad and I even did a DNA test around that time because we thought maybe she was making up a dumb reason so we wouldn't know she cheated. But it turned out I am definitely my dad's kid. The DNA confirmed it. My relationship with my mom is as bad as the day I was born, apparently. I get a hard time from some family friends and extended family members who see me not being close with my mom as me being mean to her for no reason. They put the bad relationship on me. At my grandparents' house on Saturday, I got so tired of the comments and my mom sneering at me the whole time. I exposed what she said to me when I was a teenager and the blame she put on me being born on the wrong day for our bad relationship. My mom half admitted it because she got so angry she verbally lashed out at me. It created a commotion, and some family members think I made a big deal out of nothing, but others were disgusted with my mom. I was told I was wrong to expose her like that. My mom told me I had no business doing that. So I ask, am I the asshole? Nothing you've done here makes me think you are the jerk here. She hated her own child for something completely out of their control, which is absolutely bizarre and wrong. Her reasoning is just ridiculous, like being upset she couldn't read a book on release. Exposing her was the right thing to do, and anyone defending her is clearly delusional. Any family that's mad is just worried about being exposed for supporting her. Am I the jerk for starting a family feud over double booking my baby's first birthday? My partner and I were planning my son's first birthday, which falls on the Monday after Father's Day. At a recent family gathering, we asked for scheduling feedback. The family was ambivalent. There were a lot of "oh, I make whatever work," and "well, if we're going to get together anyway, we might as well just have the birthday party that day." So we planned the birthday for this coming Father's Day at 1:00 p.m. Great! Not so fast. A couple of weeks later today, there is a message in the family group chat from my sister stating, "We are planning a Father's Day brunch at our place at 10:30 a.m. and asking for RSVPs." After staring at this message in disbelief for a good minute, I stated that as we discussed, we will be hosting the baby's birthday that afternoon, and we won't be able to do both. My partner and I are baffled. Input was sought to avoid this exact scenario. We literally cannot attend their family event because we'll be setting up our family event at another location. I wrote to explain that we did the early recon and planning with them so that we could avoid scheduling issues. I tried to highlight that we couldn't attend this if we wanted to, and the whole thing was rather confusing and hurtful. I threw in an afterthought message of, "But anyway, what's done is done and there's no fix at this point. If you're coming to the birthday party, I guess we'll just see you there." My sister says she did not intend to offend or disrespect, but that she always does a Father's Day event, and her kids would be upset if they did not. She says she is sorry if offense was taken, and that I think we misunderstood each other because I never intended that we weren't celebrating Father's Day, just that we could do both. I took issue with that and responded that she misunderstood or didn't communicate, because I specifically sought clearance to plan for this day, and if there was already a plan, it should have been communicated then so we could reschedule. I finished this message asking for accountability. At this point, my brother says he and his wife are also planning it, and sorry if you're offended but not sorry that we are planning said brunch. My sister then says she's fine with her accountability, and again sorry if I'm upset. She says, "I did not understand that you meant the rest of my day wasn't free to myself." My partner says it is just a confusing surprise not to be involved in any of the planning when we tried to preemptively avoid this problem. My sister says that she doesn't see the problem with doing both, so I'm a little confused about the drama. No disrespect was intended. At this point, I kind of blew up and finished with, ignorant, obtuse, insensitive. Call it what you will. My brother and sister left the group chat, and I feel like years of growth and connection just got torpedoed. It seems like there was a misunderstanding about being able to celebrate both Father's Day and the birthday. The sister explained things in a nice and reasonable way, suggesting it was possible to attend both events since they are at different times. However, blowing up and using harsh words didn't help the situation at all. Now, with the brother and sister leaving the group chat, it feels like years of growth and connection have been torpedoed. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.